Welcome back. You're with Up South and our continued focus on the terrible tragedy that has taken place in Bangalore where a 6-year-old child, a 6-year-old student raped inside the school premises allegedly by the gym instructors. In fact, we have Rajiv Chandrasekhar, MP Rajya Sabha from Karnataka, also my colleagues Rohini Swamy and Ratnika Sharma who joined me from Bangalore. Also we have Isidore Phillips, child rights activist, joining me from Hyderabad. If I may go across to Ashwini Nachappa, well-known international athlete, first. Two terrible cases have been reported from Bangalore in the last 3 days. We also had the case of the 22-year-old postgraduate student who was sexually molested inside a car outside her apartment. Now, these are two cases which must be just the tip of the iceberg because many cases which don't get reported. Now, what can be done to ensure that Bangalore does not get labelled as one of the worst cities, most unsafe cities to live in India?
Well, I think looking at the incidents in the last 3-4 days, Bangalore has already become an unsafe place because going by what happened, whether it was a Fraser Town incident or whether it was a school child incident, it only goes to show how insensitive citizens and people have become and the authorities have become to such issues. And unless we take, our laws are stringent, I completely agree with Menaka Gandhi that unless laws are really stringent, we book these people, and also people who are supporting them and trying to cover up, they should also be hanged, and only then will people realize that these are serious offences. People are just getting away, these offenders are just getting away with hardly any punishment. I mean, being in jail for a few years at taxpayers' money is no punishment at all.
Rajiv Chandrasekhar, would you agree with what Ashwini Nachappa says that making laws more stringent, throwing anyone who indulges in any kind of criminal activity into jail, is that really the solution to these ills? Because we have seen tough laws being framed, especially after Nirbhaya, yet many of these incidents continue to happen in our cities and towns.
No, so Sudhir, let's be very clear. I think we have the necessary legal framework. We have a criminal penal code, we have POCSO, we have the new Nirbhaya law. I think the issue is not so much law as much as it is enforcement of the law and the prosecution and conviction of the criminal. There are three legs to this, as you know. There is the crime that is committed, then there is the investigation and the filing of the cases, charges and the arrest, and then there is the prosecution. Where we are going weak and we are not focusing enough attention is the police victim relationship and the court victim, the court criminal relationship. And what we need now is a movement, just like we had after Nirbhaya, of a zero tolerance movement where the police is almost pressured to not have any discretion or ad hocness about cases that are horrific like this. Number one. Number two, I firmly believe if there is a need to amend the law, the amendment must be done where the schools and school managements are brought under the ambit of law. There cannot be a case that the school management and teachers are not responsible for child safety. And I will not use this for any other case excepting the case of a vulnerable child. Children are vulnerable, schools have a moral and it must be made a legal responsibility that they have towards the safety of the child.
Right. Isidore Phillips, we have spoken about this many times before. Is the safety of the child entirely that of the management? It's a management's responsibility because most of the time it's a very unequal relationship between the school management and the parent because parent is essentially at the receiving end. The parent is not really in a position to criticize or take on the school management. What does the parent do in this kind of a scenario?
Episode. Let's also not, the lesser we talk about parent, the better, because here you're talking of two powerful systems, the government which gives the recognition, the government which has got the mandate to regulate institutions, and two, you have the managements which actually take the responsibility for running a particular service. And I think both these entities are totally responsible. We are talking about schools, we are talking of the ambit of RTE. RTE, if you look at the RTE, you have the annexure, you have section 17, but the annexure and the inspection system do not cover child safety. There is no mandated standards when we talk about child safety. And I think that is a serious cause of concern. We can't be talking of safety in a vacuum. And I think this needs to be looked into. The second thing is in terms of managements. We are actually talking about access to adults. We are talking of teachers, we are talking of support staff, and the management's responsibility in terms of recruitment, in terms of inspection, in terms of monitoring their personnel, because all these people have direct access to children. And when we talk about child protection, it is a huge issue because we do not have standards for child protection. That means when we are recruiting a person, we do not even have a background check. When we are talking about access to children within the school, here it's a gym instructor, it could be a teacher, it could be a swim coach. What is the kind of access that they have? Who's regulating it? Who's supervising it? How much access, how much can children get in with them? And I think these are the ambits that we haven't, it's still a grey area, we've just left it to chance. All the parents, we send our children with the firm hope that when they go to school they are safe.
Right. Not having the background checks on many of the teachers who are recruited, I mean, sounds extremely ominous. Mr. Siddharth Jagannathan of the Sidhu Matriculation Higher Secondary School joins us now from Chennai. Mr. Jagannathan, you heard Mr. Phillips there talking from Hyderabad that necessary background checks are not done by most school managements. Are school managements essentially playing with the lives of many of the children who are sent to your schools?
Well, I would have to say that background checks are necessary. I agree with Mr. Phillips. But this is not a repetitive pattern behavior. I mean, a person who comes into the school is not necessarily a person who's already committed a rape before, or etc., etc. So I think the focus should be more on the safety of the children on campus. My question is, why was this child left alone in the campus where two people could sodomize this child? I don't understand why that happened. And that does not have to do anything with the background of a particular person. It's to do more with the security ambit of the school itself and the campus itself. And if I may add, I would say that parents, management and government have to come up with a regulation and sort of to do things to monitor the safety of the child.
Right. Ratnika, you are there with parents there of this school. Mr. Jagannathan there from Chennai making the point that security perhaps was the issue. Why was this child left alone wherein two gym instructors allegedly had the opportunity to sodomize the child? Do they think security at that particular school is a major issue?
Sudhir, in fact, I was there in the school since morning, and as far as I could see, there are definitely 2 security guards posted at the gate. But what I've also been told by a lot of parents is that there's constant monitoring of students and kids by the IMRs or the IMRs that they say. And even if the kid has to go to the washroom, you know, the kid is escorted by the IMR. So definitely, in terms of security, it did not seem like there was a major problem, but definitely because the incident has happened, it does definitely throw a light on major security issues of the school.
Right. Rohini, you are there with activists of the Win Bangalore Back campaign, which has been generated on Facebook for the last 3 days with more than 9,000 members already online contributing and writing on that Facebook page. Obviously, Bangalore does feel concerned about the kind of image erosion that is taking place as a result of incidents like this.
Well, Bangalore is extremely concerned. There are lots of voices in social media. Like you said, yes, you've seen the Facebook campaign of Win Bangalore Back. But my question to you, Pratibha, can Bangalore win its trust back, especially?
Now at the moment it looks very, very difficult, but I am very, very confident with appropriate measures taken and proper self-defense technique given to girls and women and the corporates and the schools and educational institutions advised to take appropriate measures. Yes, we can get the trust back.
But we are here also looking at this specific case. We are looking at a 6-year-old, very young children. Self-defense mechanisms don't work. Then appropriate sensitization also, just not by counselors but also like social fora who can come forward?
Absolutely, yes. We are already working with NGOs and other institutions where they will go and meet with schools and colleges and educate and create awareness as to what should be done and what should not be done.
So I have one quick question for you. You're an educationist and you also are the president of KUSMA. What should be done to that particular school right now? What kind of action? Should it be shut down?
Yeah, culprits should be brought to the punishment. Yeah, book.
And the management, school management?
Yeah, management also equally responsible.
But should the school be shut down?
shutdown is not the what you call solution, because there are things that the management and the culprit involved, accused, should be punished.
Well, the culprit should be brought to book. More importantly, what he's saying as the president of KUSMA is that school should not be shut down. But a lot of voices in Bangalore, parents who have been talking to me have been saying, Sudhir, that the school should be shut down because they fear if one school is shut down, then it sets a precedent to many other schools, so that they at least attention is brought, and then these things won't occur in schools again.
Right, Rajiv, that may be a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, wouldn't it be, for a school to be shut down? Is that the kind of reaction that we are actually expecting now in Bangalore?
No, Sudhir, this is not knee-jerk at all. Let's be very clear what we are discussing. There is a crime that has been committed, and we are now looking at who is accountable for that crime. In the proposition here is that the school and its management are responsible for this act, this horrific act on an innocent child. Now, if there is no punishment meted out to the school and its management, and we go round and round in circles and talk about societal problems, this will recur. This has happened 3 months ago to another 2-year-old child in another school. This is not about social behavior, this is a crime. And the school, we have to decide as a community, as a city, whether we hold schools and school managements accountable for the safety of the child. If we do, then there is a punishment that has to be meted out. We can't wring our hands and say, I hope this blows over and that there is no other criminal in that school that will not perpetrate another crime on another innocent child a few days later. So this is not knee-jerk.
Right.
This is what we must do to send a signal that crimes will be punished.
Fine. So you are saying that this kind of a strong message needs to be sent across to all schools, not just in Bangalore, but across the country. Isidore Phillips, you would think that school managements now would be much more careful after an incident like this about the kind of people who they employ, about the kind of teachers who are recruited, about the other kind of support staff, which is also part of the school system.
Security and safety of children in a particular school is not about posting security guards. We are not talking about the antecedents of teachers and personnel there alone. We are talking about creating standards within the school for safety, within the classroom, in public places. What kind of access do adults have to children? What kind of access do older children have with younger children? So that ensuring that school becomes safe for children is an environment that you create. It's not about posting 2 security guards outside and say, we are also taking the same standard saying, outside it is more hazardous than inside. Safety can be, a problem can be anywhere. The problem right now, the crime took place within the school. And the second aspect is in terms of saying school management's responsibility under the POXCO. When anything happens, silence or not reporting is a crime. And I think this is something that we'll have to take cognizance about. The school here particularly did not report what happened. We tried to hush it up. And I think this has to be viewed very, very seriously. Closing a school is not a solution, but holding schools accountable, making them accountable, making the education department accountable is the way forward.
Mr. Siddharth Jagannathan, you heard Mr. Isidore Phillips before the break talking about steps that need to be taken, lessons that need to be learned from this kind of a case. What steps would you think that schools need to put immediately to ensure this kind of incidents do not recur in any school in India?
Well, they could start by making sure that the children are not let alone in the campus. They could primarily look at the security of the campus. And the government, I agree with Mr. Phillips, you need to bring in a system where the security ambit of the institution has to be protected. The government has to frame guidelines, and schools, shutting down one school does not mean the rest of 1.2 million schools in the country is going to become safe for children. Unless the proper security standards are laid down and reasonable standards are laid down, nothing's going to happen in all these institutions.
Okay, Rohini, Swami, counselling a major issue, that's what many people in Bangalore and parents also have been talking about. What are the voices, what are the specific steps that many of these people, concerned Bangaloreans, would want to be implemented immediately?
Well, one thing is about sensitization, another thing is about precautions, even within school itself. Let me start, Polkot, if I can ask you, the fact that we talk to children, they should also be counseled to know what is bad touch, what is a good touch, so that even if something happens of this sort, not only the school management should know first because they're in school, the parents also should get to know.
Definitely. So, at least in the curriculum, they should include, creating awareness on sexual abuse, what is good touch, what is bad touch, and how to report such crimes, first of all. So there should be some mechanism in the school, like a sexual harassment complaints committee, where they can approach. There should be a counselor who can counsel them. So there could be certain mechanisms, whatever Vishaka guidelines has stated. So at least it should be displayed, and the staff should be sensitized to handle such kids as well.
But there are also a lot of times the management says, oh, we did not know who the perpetrator was, we did not know he was like this. How does one identify that?
Most people have no understanding that a child molester can be really amongst us, one of us. They think a child molester is someone who's waiting to harm your child out there in the dark, out there. But it's often a parent, it's often a teacher, a person you trust, a caregiver, etc. So it's the nice uncle, it's the nice neighbor, etc. So this whole concept, you see, even the police don't have a kind of profile of a child molester. Correct. And even when you go with a complaint, they often want to tell you, no, please don't complain. The child will go through all this, then he'll have to, or she will have to come to court, etc. While there's a whole process, guidelines about how these kinds of abuse of children, cases can be handled. Absolutely. And should be handled. A counselor needs to sit with the child, speak to the child in a language the child understands.
What clearly they're all talking about is counselling and sensitization, and that's what is the solution largely, apart from the fact that the management and the school management and the parents should do and should have.
Right. Rohini, last word to you, Rajiv Chandrasekhar. You've always spoken of yourself as a proud Bangalorean, but on a day like this, you must be feeling pretty terrible. What would you want to be done immediately at many of these educational institutions in Bangalore, in other cities in Karnataka?
No, I think, Sudhir, a lot of things have to be done. The role of the government as a regulator of educational institutions needs to be spotlighted. Governments have to be made accountable for the standards that they set for these educational institutions, and they have to be squarely responsible for the safety of children as safety of women in our city. And I am still a proud Bangalorean, and I think this is a problem that needs to be solved. It has to be solved by the government, it has to be solved by the educational institutions, and not be left to parents to fight this on their own.
Right. Okay, thanks a lot, Rajiv Chandrasekhar. Also, thanks to Isidore Phillips, Siddharth Jagannathan, Rohini Swami and Ratnika Sharma for joining us on this special broadcast.